According to Gallaudet University, there's about 13% of the U.S. population is considered hard of hearing or deaf or has some trouble hearing. There's lots of different levels of hearing loss. You can have a slight hearing loss where it might sound like it does when you have an ear infection. You can have a moderate hearing loss where you use the use of aids to hear more clearly, to distinguish different ranges of voices, etc. You can have a moderate hearing loss, which is just a little bit further from that. It's harder to understand speech. A severe hearing loss means you have trouble hearing sounds in general, and you can't distinguish voices very well. And then you have a profound hearing loss to deafness, which, deafness can be a little bit subjective, but that is considered where you don't really hear any sounds at all, except maybe very, very loud sounds and occasional sounds like that. There are many ways you can get hearing loss. Some people are born with it. It can be genetics. You can get it at a very young age. That's very common if a child gets sick. Spinal meningitis, I think, is one of the common sicknesses. And then a lot of people get it from accidents, or they're just exposed to a really loud environment that reduces their hearing loss over time. And then most commonly getting it in old age. Generally, the deaf community deaf community is considered people who have deafness from a young age because they grow up using sign language as their primary language in their home, and sometimes go to all deaf schools, have teachers who also use sign language, etc. Deaf people refer to themselves as deaf if they use sign language as their primary language and if they're exposed to and ingrained with deaf culture. It depends a lot on how you grow up. For example, somebody who is deaf born to a hearing family may not be considered part of deaf culture if they're never exposed to sign language. If they go to mainstream schools, they learn to speak at a young age, but still are considered legally deaf and have trouble hearing. A few difficulties that people face when they're deaf is being able to speak in group conversations. If it's a group of all deaf people, they follow different conversational styles and who speaks when, etc. Whereas if it's one deaf person in a group of hearing people, it's much harder to follow along, even if somebody's interpreting, because people will speak over each other. You have to figure out who's speaking first in order to be able to watch them, read their facial expressions, read their lips, etc. A lot of times people use hearing aids or cochlear implants in order to help in everyday situations. For example, I use hearing aids. It's just to make sure that I can hear my surroundings better, I can understand speech better, and along with that, I read lips, read faces, I read facial expressions. That all helps very much in order for me to carry on conversation with other people. Some of the technology that deaf rely on are things like reading and writing in order to communicate with hearing people if they can't get their point across. That's always like the baseline that they can always go back to. If they just write something on a piece of paper or on their phone, that pretty much always works. Something that's really cool is using a phone interpreter. Basically start a video call on either a special phone or even tablets nowadays, where a deaf person can call the interpreter and then connect to someone else on another line, and then the interpreter will talk to the hearing person and sign to the deaf person. And in the other way around, deaf person or a hearing person can call that line and say that they want to dial a specific number. You can do it either way. For Squid, it's really great because I'll have these glasses on, and if someone starts talking to me, I'll be able to see basically subtitles or captions on the glasses, and that will just help cue me in. If I just miss maybe part of the sentence, I can just fill in blanks of what I've just missed, or if someone's talking behind me and I don't even know they're talking, then that can cue me in to turn around and without having to even make them repeat what they just said. And if there's, an ambulance, or if there's a fire alarm or a car horn or something, if there's loud, situational noises that maybe I can hear them, but maybe I can't locate them, these will help really well with just making me more aware of my surroundings, and I'm really excited to see something like that happen. And then what's even better is that with the gloves on, you'll be able to recognize certain gestural symbols and convey that in person-to-person communication as well.